Welcome back, listeners. You're listening to episode 16, and I'm with Thomas, and Thomas is with
Stephen.
Yeah, that was a bit of a weird introduction, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Nearly messed that one up.
Yeah, it still sounds okay.
How's your weekend been?
Me which?
Your weekend.
My weekend?
How's your weekend?
My weekend's been not bad. I think today we're going to talk about media, variations of media, why and how we use media, and what the benefits, the pros and cons of certain medias are.
So, when we say media, that's like an all-encompassing term, isn't it, for anything that we grow in?
Yeah.
So that could be soil, cocoa, and all the hydroponic growing media, such as Rockwool and Jiffy's, and know a few others as well, don't you?
Yes, a few variations. So we've got Rockwool, Jiffy's, Perlite, Vermiculite, Hydrocorn, 60-40, soil, cocoa.
Lots.
Yeah, there's lots. There's loads of different variants.
There's lots of widely accepted ones, and you've probably got a few media that you grow in personally that you use yourself that isn't widely used but might work for you, and if it works for you, that's good.
Yeah, I just want to mention something dead quick. Everyone always says when we're in the store, and they say, what's the best media to use?
Yeah.
So I just want to clear this one up once and for all. The best media to use is the one that suits you best.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah.
There's all different methods to growing, different ways and different nutrients that work alongside with different medias. Now, it's a personal preference. Most beginners start off in soil, work their way into cocoa, and then probably end up somewhere on hydroponics.
But why does that happen?
I think they start off on a soil. Soil's a nice, easy one to start with because
given media.
Yeah, because soil has, we can say, a memory. So when you put nutrients into soil, it stays in there for probably between 10-14 days. So you don't have to continuously, every time you water your plants, need to add a nutrient. However, with a cocoa, because it's inert and it doesn't have this so-called memory, you have to fertilise
Every time.
Either every time or every other time, or a lot more regularly, however you want to fertilise your plants. So soil gives you a safety barrier sort of. So for beginner growers, it's a lot easier to use. You don't have to fertilise as much, and
it's pH stable.
Yeah, it'll look after your plants a little bit easier. So majority start with that. Then, as you know, you've been growing for a while, you fancy a little bit of a change, you want to up the ante or try something new. Now, most people, because they work with the soil-based media, they jump to cocoa, because then all they're simply doing is changing that media and then going to change the feed to coincide with that. When you jump to hydroponics straight from soil, you are going into a whole new regime.
It's a big jump, a massive learning
big
curve.
jump. So that's normally like a steady learning curve. However, some people jump straight in at the deep end and just start with hydroponics and do it backwards. There's no right or wrong way to anything.
Yeah.
It's whatever you want to do, just do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can over fertilise plants and that's wrong, but there's somebody who grows in soil to somebody who grows in hydroponics. There's neither one of them are right or wrong. It's basically just down to themselves.
What makes your life easier, what gives you the best results, and what works personally for you.
Your time. Do you have a lot of time to spend with your plants? Would you rather put on an automated system? Would you rather hand water plants? Would you nurture them from beginning to end yourself? It just depends.
Yeah, because some people say that the produce grown in soil tastes a little bit better. I personally, I'm not sure about that one.
No.
I can understand why they think plants grown in the
I
earth
don't
of
agree
the
with
world.
that. My personal preference, if you was to say which would be the best tasting fruits or vegetables, I would say it'd be from hydroponics, because it's a lot cleaner. The system can, various different systems. You have DWC, flood and drain, recirculate and run to waste. However, because these are all mainly water-based systems, the produce tends to be a lot cleaner and healthier and stuff like that.
Well, I've done a few tests in university, and the way we measure taste is with brix, BRIX, and what that does is it's a measurement scale on how sweet something is. So we grew some tomatoes, measured them in soil, in cocoa and in hydroponics, took them to university and measured the brix content of each. Soil was, I can't remember the readings, but I remember soil and cocoa being quite close, and hydroponics was a little bit higher. But for people that from a science background, don't take that as gospel, because I'm a big hydroponics fan. I may have been a bit biased towards the hydroponics and put a bit more time and effort into that particular plant. So that was my own personal findings, and I will be doing a much more scientifically concrete test, but that's what I found so far.
Cool.
So for the soil growers, what sort of feed do we use? Because a lot of people come in and they say, I'd like a bag of soil and cocoa A and B. Why is that wrong?
Because firstly, cocoa A and B is designed to work in a cocoa substrate, so it's scientifically put together for that substrate. So using that cocoa nutrient in a soil nutrient will work, will look after the plant won't die. However, it's not designed scientifically for that plant, so you will not get the full chemical processes within that media as you would if you had the exact right
and because
nutrient.
Cocoa is inert, it's got nothing in it, the cocoa A and B has to have everything in it.
Yeah.
So if you put cocoa A and B into soil, you could actually be over fertilising in some areas.
You can do.
But it's okay to put, it's not great, it's not ideal, but you could potentially put the Terra A and B or any of the soil feeds into cocoa.
But it's actually Terra Vega and Terra Flores.
Yeah.
So which is one for the vegetative growth and one is for the flowering
So you
cycle.
could possibly put soil nutrients into cocoa. It's not really recommended because you're going to be missing out.
Well,
on
you
certain-
can use, if you wanted to, you could use Aqua Vega, Hydra Vega, Terra Vega, and you could mix them all up and use them all in the wrong ones.
Yeah.
But you then know is that you're not giving your plant a
What it needs.
fair crack at life.
Yeah.
You know, you're giving it the wrong thing. So it's going to be a little bit confused. However, plants are pretty clever, so they'll always try and survive, and they'll try and take the things that they need. Might struggle, might show signs of over fertilisation or deficiency. However, it probably will survive, but you won't be getting the full benefits.
Yeah, so it's good if you're with soil. It's better to stick to a soil feed.
Yeah.
And with regards to additives, the additives aren't soil or cocoa or hydroponics really, are they? Additives like CANNA's Boost or Vitalink's Buddy,
Yeah.
or Plant Magic's Platinum or Hydrotop's Floral Boost or Botanica, whatever boost it is you're using. Additives can go in soil, hydroponics or cocoa.
Yeah,
just at different ratios. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
One last thing on soil before we move on to cocoa. Some have pre-fertilisation. The Atami All Mix has a little bit of fertilisation within it. And something like Gold Label Special Mix is a little bit less.
Yeah.
And then you can get some with that mix.
Well, all of the medias all have different elements to them. So for a start, you come into the shop and you presume that all of these colourful bags are all simply just different companies selling the exact same thing in the same bag, but just with a different type of marketing. Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong answer. Everything's different. All of these bags are completely different. So you have some bags of cocoa. Yeah, so we've got, say for instance, we've got 5 different brands of cocoa. We've got Plagron, CANNA Natural,
Yeah.
CANNA Professional Plus, Atami, Gold Label. So there's 5. Now, all 5 of these bags of cocoa are completely different. Some of them have been washed and buffered for pH levels.
Yeah.
Some have not been washed and buffered. Some have trichoderma in them and some don't. Some have higher water content level and some have a higher drying out level.
Yeah.
All of these features are here to assist you in your style of growing.
Yeah. So none is... There may be... So CANNA Natural is not as good as CANNA's Professional Plus.
No, because CANNA Natural hasn't been cleaned,
buffered.
washed and buffered, where Professional Plus has.
Yeah.
Now, as a grower, when you're growing your certain plant, knowing your plant is key. And I believe, personally, that's how you make your decisions on what you do, is understanding your plant, understanding how much it drinks and feeds, what type of media it likes, because these plants have a little living organisms. They have tendencies, and the way that they show you these is one day it may be happy and the next day it won't. And if you've done something and it doesn't like it, you change it.
It'll let you know, won't it?
So you keep a log, so you know, okay, it didn't like this cocoa, but it liked that cocoa, so we'll use that. And it liked this amount of feed, and it liked this brand. So we start to build up an equation on this plant, and that's how I tend to pick my materials.
All right.
But to cater for the plant's needs.
So, with regards to the cocoa, there's some that are better than others within their own range. There's the CANNA Natural and the CANNA Professional Plus.
Yeah.
One's been washed and buffered, one hasn't.
Yeah.
If you want a cocoa that's ready to go, ready to rock and roll, you'd go for something like the CANNA Natural. Sorry, for the CANNA Professional Plus, excuse me. if you wanted to do a bit of work and modify it and wash it and pH buffer it yourself, you could go with the natural.
Yeah, that's it.
And there's also, forgot to mention, with regards to the soil, there's different levels of fertilisation, isn't there? Such as the Plagron's Light Mix,
Yeah.
and the Plagron's
All mix.
All Mix.
Yeah.
There's a higher fertilisation one.
Yeah.
So you can then see,
because the light mix, if I remember rightly, is for small plants and clones.
Yeah.
Cuttings.
Yeah, and that would work for them. And
Yeah.
then you can maybe you choose
Yeah.
one with a higher fertilisation.
Yeah, because some also soils have a high peat content, which absorbs a lot more moisture. So all these things
fully
are very
customisable, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. So you get to know your plant, and you can customise your whole soil and media, or cocoa, or whatever it is to suit your needs and your plant's needs. And that's what we're trying to say to you. There is no right or wrong version. It's just what you prefer and what your plant prefers.
The way I explain it to our customers as well is if they come in and they just fell from space into earth, and they say, well, what's the difference? Why should just tell me a basic difference between them all? And I tell them, well, if you use soil, you have a certain room for error, which is quite large within soil because it likes to buffer its pH for you.
Yeah,
and
it's quite forgiving.
Yeah, if you give it too much feed, it can retain some of it and not let some of the feed go. If you haven't fed it 1 week, it can release some nutrients. So it's quite forgiving as a media. Now, if you wanted to move up a level and start putting exactly the nutrients that you want, you'd perhaps go to cocoa, which is a little less forgiving, but more forgiving than the hydroponics method.
Yeah.
With hydroponics, you're having a shorter growing season, you're having bigger fruits off each plant, and potentially, this isn't based on science, but from my own views, higher bricks content, so higher sugar content from the hydroponics.
But also a lot more room for error.
Yeah.
And at a faster rate.
Yeah. If you let that water pump go off for 8 hours, you suddenly have a plant with no oxygen. If your pH, if you're not looking at the plant every day, your pH can rise massively from 5.5 to 7 in 1 day. That's been seen.
And can instantly shut the
ability of the plant to uptake those nutrients.
Can just shut that doorway on.
So bear that in mind. If you're a cultivator, as I like to call you, because you're around your plants all the time and you have a real passion about growing, then hydroponics sounds like it could be a good method for you. If you just like it as a small time hobby, you're not too interested in plants, but you like to keep your fingers green, then maybe soil or cocoa.
Yeah.
But like Thomas said, it's all about you and your plant. You choose what makes your life easier and what's good for you. No right or wrong.
Yeah.
With regards to hydroponic media though, we have things like Jiffy's, Rockwool, and
we've got some other new
Stones.
things in as well, haven't we? We've got what's that new Rockwool we've got from the new company downstairs?
It's a bit more of an organic Rockwool.
It's like
isn't
a woolly wool stuff.
A bit more. Apparently, it's kinder to your plants because it doesn't itch. What's one of the first things I found out? It doesn't itch as much as the Rockwool does.
Well, Rockwool, everyone's seen it. If you haven't, it's just the same stuff you get in your loft insulation.
Insulation, yeah.
Yeah, and that's all it is, compressed into cubes, and allows you to use hydroponically.
Yeah, some people will use Rockwool, the Rockwool 4-inch cubes in NFT, which is nutrient film technique.
Yeah.
Some people use it for propagation.
Yeah.
Because it retains
very
the
popular
moisture.
with propagation.
It retains moisture really well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a little less hands-on.
Yeah.
But some people then use Jiffies as propagation, and then you can get massive Jiffy pellets right into cocoa.
And for the die-hard hydroponic growers, we have pebbles, aqua pebbles, hydrocorn, Ceramis, hydromis, different variations of all a clay stone pebble, where that doesn't hold or store any nutrients whatsoever or any water. Basically, you have to continuously
feed your plants.
Yeah.
It's completely reliant on you.
And you need to be alert and switched on and be watching what's going on a daily basis, spending a lot of time So as you can see, there's a lot more than what originally thought about media, because the funny one that makes me laugh, Stephen, is every single customer, bar a few, comes into the shop and says, "Can I have a bag of soil, mate?"
Yeah.
When they actually mean they want a bag of cocoa.
Yeah.
But
that's
then
our pet hate.
Yeah, we do hate that one. So they come in to the shop, "Can I have a bag of soil, mate?" And then I go, we follow this path that we go down then. So a customer comes in the store and says, "Can I have a bag of soil?" And we go, "Yes." "What one would you like?" And they go, "I don't know, just a bag of soil." And then we say, "Is it soil or cocoa?" And then they say, "Well, I don't know, just use that A and B feed." So that instantly tells us that they don't need soil, they need cocoa. So then we proceed to say to them, "So what one would you like?" And they go, "I don't know, the cheapest." And then there we go, there's our grower buying his cheapest stuff that he knows nothing about, because some people just don't care. However, you have the other customer who comes in and goes, can I have a bag of washed and buffered cocoa, Professional Plus, because he knows what he wants, and he knows how he's going to grow, and he's happy in what he's doing. And it's just to let you customers out there and listeners know that it's not just as simple as, can I have a bag of soil, because each bag of soil is very different and unique. As Steve said, we have all mix and light mix, and we have some mixed with perlite and
some mixed with pebbles. 60,
some
40,
mixed with
50,
bark
50.
And organic, which we haven't mentioned, which is a natural media. So
bat mix. House and Gardens bat mix,
which is loads of bat poo, which is pretty common. Worm hummus.
Don't need to fertilise for 2 weeks with that bat poo.
So, and that's just soil. And then you have cocoa with all different variations of cocoa, and then you have pebbles with all different variations. So this is just mainly to give you guys a little heads up and have a little think about how complicated certain things can be or could be, and realise that it's not actually as simple as what you thought. So if you pay a little bit more attention, you may get some better results, or you may find a better method from what you was originally doing.
I think that nicely concludes. We've touched the surface on media. If any of the growers out there that listen to us are perhaps like, well, you didn't go into too much detail on media there. You're right, we didn't. But there's people that need to understand the difference between what soil is and what cocoa is, and what's good for them. It's not necessarily what's good for their mate or what's good for their friend is going to be good for them. We've just literally touched the surface, and in a few more episodes down the line we will be going into more detail on cocoa. We'll be talking about CEC, which is the cation exchange capacity, and if that tickles your taste buds, then stay tuned, because I reckon about 4 or 5 months time we'll be going into a lot more detail on things we've already spoken of.
Well, not only that, Stephen, from this one I wouldn't mind moving on another episode, pots. What size pot should I use? That's a common question.
That is a good one.
And what does that entail? Because each category that we talk about is very complicated and in depth, and can be. So what we're trying to do is make you realise and understand that as we keep talking about the steering wheels to the environment, well, there's also steering wheels to creating a grow room stroke environment, and these other factors are the equipment and different variables that you use, and we just want to give you an idea of what else is available on the market.
Cool, that sounds good. Well, I'm looking forward to next week's podcast. It sounds good on pots, because there's a good bit of information. You've actually taught me quite a bit on pots, and I think Thomas has got a lot to teach you. So tune in next week for pots.
I think we'll actually cover pots and saucers and potting up.
That's a good one. I like that. You've taught me quite a bit on that, so I look forward to interviewing you on that one.
Excellent.
Some of our listeners are actually could have been waiting for the lighting podcast, because we announced we were going to do that on Sunday. However, we recorded the podcast on lighting, didn't we, on last week? But it was, how can I say, we got into a lot of detail, and we felt that
we still hadn't catered for enough.
We hadn't actually touched on everything we could have, and we missed certain important parts out.
So what we're going to do is we're going to invite a special guest to explain all of this.
We can interview him. We're not going to say, we're not going to say who it is yet, because we haven't confirmed anything, but rest assured their knowledge will be second to none with regards to lighting, and hopefully that way it's an important subject. We want to do the best we can for
and we want to get it right also.
And get it right, so it's an important one. So next week, pots, saucers and potting up, and I hope you enjoyed listening to this week on media.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
At NPK Technology in Liverpool, we pride ourselves on providing you with the products you need at the right price. Once more, if the products you want aren't in stock, we'll order them in for you. And if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, we'll happily point you in the right direction. NPK Technology Liverpool, going out of our way to help you grow. Visit www.mpktechnology.co.uk.
Life is good.